Elgin.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. Is that right, Mike?
Hello.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So welcome to the venture capital session today. So it's all about venture capital in the FinTech ecosystem. I'd like to welcome you all to this day. We've got a fantastic slate of speakers that I'll be able to introduce you to shortly. Meanwhile, my name is Hugh Dilshod. I'm based in London. I'm the head of financial services here at DIT. And it's a real pleasure for me to meet you. And I hope when travel comes back to normal, when you come over to the UK, please do come in and visit us. I'll just give a couple of brief opening remarks. The last couple of years have been a bit of a nightmare, as we know. And COVID has had a huge effect on the global economy. But it has had an amazing impact on FinTech, and it's quickened the pace at which FinTech is being absorbed. I think something like now 7 out of 10 adults in the UK have a FinTech application on their smartphone. And we're starting to see FinTechs being used by central banks. When our banks was giving some COVID support to small and medium-sized businesses, it was non-banking FinTechs that delivered huge portions of that money. They were quicker and they were more adroit at doing that than some of the traditional banks. And what's the system, the ecosystem in the UK looking like at the moment? There are good bits of news and there are bad bits of news, I would say. The really good news is that we as a government are taking the sector incredibly seriously. There was a review called the Khalifa Review, which came out very recently, led by Ron Khalifa, which looked at the FinTech sector for the UK as a whole and looked at all the things that the government could do to work with the sector to get even better. The second report that came out alongside that was Lord Hill's listing report, which was all about how the public markets in the UK react to technology. And I think we're getting some interference on the line. Thank you. So what was happening there is that we've made it easier making it easier for listed companies that are tech companies to come to the market. Meanwhile, in the UK, we are seeing a really rapid pace of increase in terms of investment. The types of investments that we're talking about at the moment are, in the first half of this year, was about $24.5 billion invested in FinTech in the UK. It was around, and that is a huge percentage of the amount that's being spent in Europe. UK investment levels are way higher than that of France, Germany, and the next 3 largest European markets combined. The UK is home to 17 FinTech unicorns, and we have about a 10% global market share. And we're interested in seeing that growing. We want the UK market to be the place where people come to scale their businesses. And we're really interested in how we help our FinTech companies reach scale. Now, in terms of competing on a global basis, on valuations and the rest, that means that companies from the UK and companies from European countries, if they're going to compete with American companies, have to export. That means that they have to go to other countries in order to get the scale that they need. And we're really keen on helping promote that. And that's the work that we do in free trade agreements and reducing market access barriers and doing innovative things like introducing data chapters into FTAs, such as the one that we did recently with Japan. will really lead the way in how we're moving to make the sector a global sector. And the other thing I would very quickly mention before I pass on is the importance of regulation. The UK has a very innovative regulator. It is our belief that regulation needs to be adaptable and change as the technology changes. So that's a brief introduction from me. I'd now like to pass over to our first speaker, Ihsan Elgin, who is the co-founder of FinTech Istanbul. So Ihsan, over to you.
Hi, thank you very much. So thanks for inviting me here today. I would like to talk about today, of course, the Turkish ecosystem, but I'm a first speaker, then I will be focused on, okay, somebody's pushing to the button, I guess. If you don't use the slides, I can make it. Leave it to me, guys. Okay, so first I would like to start with the all over the world to see the fintech ecosystem, what's happening. Then I will go to directly in Turkey and define about the VC's role, what's happening in Turkey, also all over the world. So as you see, actually over here all over the world, these are increasing very, very strongly. You can see that all the investments, mainly in the VC rounds and the maturity rounds, is increasing. Totally, it was $30 billion in 2018, 2019, and 2020, all the fintech investments. But 2021, today, it's $90 billion. So it approximately 3 times the increase the fintech investments. If you check the stages, you can see that biggest investment change is happening in the VC side, early stage and the later stage. So VC is playing the real strong roles. Somebody's changing my presentation, guys. Please don't touch to the previous slide. Please. So I am talking about the VC rounds getting more and more important. But the problem is all over the world, the fintech rounds, you can see that just 250 companies, approximately we have 6,000 fintechs all over the world, which is raised money from the VCs, but just these 250 raised almost 40% of all the investments, $40 billion investments went to these fintechs. And half of these fintechs are more than $1 billion. And most of them raised more than $100 million. Okay? I can't understand. Sorry, somebody's helped me because some of our friends pushing to the presentation slides.
Ihsan Bey, I do apologize for this. Could we please ask anyone in the audience not to play around with the slides? We've disabled the function, but still someone's trying to play around with those. But please carry on.
Okay.
If you need us to move slides, just let us know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you see that this company is raising more than $100 million and all the fintechs investment went there. Which areas are there? Are they in? You can see over here, steel payment is the increase in verticals all over the world. Still, you can see that 20% of the investments going to the payment, 15% are investments going to the financing side, and 12% is going to the banking, and the 10% is the crypto. So, but if you check the numbers in the all the years, you can see the biggest increase happening in the crypto side and the blockchain side. But when I'm saying the crypto, please understand decentralized finance includes that. 60% of the investment going to DeFi right now, decentralized finance. When we say the financing, please consider that we are talking about BNPL, buy now, pay later startups raising the more funds than everyone. But what's happening? The VC side. You know the private equities, they're investing big numbers, they're investing traditional companies, they're not investing the no EBITDA companies like our world. But right now, they decided to enter the VC games also. All the private equities now launching their growth funds. Through the growth funds, they started to invest the FinTechs and the VC rounds. Also, the strange thing, they now started to lead to the VC rounds also. They're helping to the VCs to invest together to the FinTechs, and some of them, they are putting their monies in the VCs. If you check all over the world, as you see, the UK is the second biggest FinTech after the US. Turkey is not doing unbelievable, but it's at 31 of the world. While we are increasing, but sorry for the depreciation of the Turkish money, we can't play the real good place in this ranking. In Turkey, we have more than 500 FinTechs, active FinTechs, raised fund. They are, but most of them, we launched them 2017, 18, and 19. And as you see from the right side to the box, the payment 2016, then crypto. Maybe you don't know that, but Turkey is the eighth biggest crypto market all over the world. Turkish people likes to play the crypto, trade that, maybe micro investments per person, but we have lots of people playing crypto. Then 2017 and 18, crypto was increased very strongly in Turkey. Then people again focus on the payment, but the different areas of the payments, I'm talking different methodologies of the payments. Now today, payment and crypto is the leading parts of the Turkey. We have the startups and the VC rounds. As you see from the deal size, we doubled our investments in 2021 about to the FinTechs. And also please consider that approximately 30% depreciation Turkish money had in Turkey. Based on that, we still doubled our investments, the dollar base in the FinTech. And the exit size, we have started to have the exits the last 3 years. And this year, we will have one more, which is going to be $1 billion. So we have an unbelievable year about the exits all over the Turkey, not only FinTech, all over the startups. We have exits to this year, $4 billion. So Turkish startup market is increasing. FinTech has a role, and we will hear too much things. But if we check the stages by, mostly the angel investors are investing in Turkey, and you can see the VCs are investing. But we need more VCs in Turkey to invest, because lots of angel investors are investing to the ecosystem, FinTech ecosystem. We need more VCs. But the different thing than the other countries, you can see the brown side. This is the corporate venture capital. It's the strange thing. In Turkey, all over the companies has an corporate venture capital arm and the accelerator arm, all the banks. All the normal banks, all the Sharia compliance banks, all of them has the corporate venture capital arms, and they are 10-20% between them has an impact on our ecosystem. So coming to my last slide, actually, what should be the role of the venture capital in the emerging markets? They first focus on the support the ecosystem. What does it mean? It means that we need more accelerators. We need more incubators. And also we need to educate them. Turkish ecosystem, banking ecosystem, really big. We have lots of people from the finance. So, but today they want to be entrepreneur. But the thing is that which business model, which area, which need they're going to solve. So the VCs, they know all over the world. They know what's happening. So they need to feed this ecosystem, these accelerators, the entrepreneurs, candidates, to which business models and potential areas we need to see the startups. The second part of the VC role is the growth. So in the emerging markets, the big problem is how are you going to convince the corporates to work with you? How are you going to take their support? Because they usually focus on by themselves. So we need to take them in the game. So venture capitalists has a role over that part to convince the corporates to work with the startups and make it a more viable ecosystem. And the last part, of course, the exit part, the challenging part of the emerging markets, convince the big monies to come to their countries. So for this role, we need to use the venture capitalists again to convince the private equities out of Turkey to invest their startups. to help their startups to go out of their countries. So these are the main three roles of the venture capitalists should do in the emerging markets. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ihsan. I must say, I completely agree with you. I think one of the biggest roles of venture capital is not actually the capital, it's the people and the expertise and the guidance, and it's helping companies grow and getting the entrepreneurs online. Now, the next speaker, my pleasure to introduce to you is Arslan Kudiyar, who is the CEO of the venture capital side of Venture Rocket Eurasia, and he is joining us from Kazakhstan. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning, dear distinguished guests. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I'm having the same problem as Ihsan. Somebody is trying, switching the slides. So I would like to start the focus on involvement of the FinTech market in Kazakhstan by giving out what kind of factors actually led to the development. I think since our ecosystem is very young and it takes more than capital to nurture it. So we'll focus more between VC and other drivers that led to the development that is helping to develop the ecosystem in Kazakhstan. So just a brief overview of Kazakhstan, what's going on here, how it's kind of our competitiveness within global rank as a GDP and the innovation index. As you might see, we still have a lot of way to go and a lot of development to do, but later you'll see what's going on actually and what kind of improvements have been done. And I've lost my slides. So moving to the next slide. Actually, there are a lot of opportunities right now going on, and the main drivers are the growth of the internet and the mobile penetration. And as you might know that we got quite advanced digital banking right now, and one of the examples is the Kaspi that allows you to do everything through the app. And not only Kaspi, but other banks are also catching up. So we kind of have a big boom for super apps. Okay. And so you might see all these drivers that is driving the FinTech ecosystem. And so what's going on right now is I'm having a problem here with the slides and I keep losing them. And so we have a lot of cards per person, over 3.7 over 16 years old. Then I think our use of cash dramatically decreased. If you come to Kazakhstan and get a cap and you try to pay with cash, you probably won't be able to get your cash back. A change, since actually less people today is using cash. And in combination with the FinTech, I think e-com is also evolving. And so these two factors are driving the ecosystem, FinTech ecosystem. And of course, other factors is in terms of developing the FinTech is the regulation, and here's the whole regulation that is in place, and the other regulations that are being developed. So we already have a regulation on digital assets, cryptocurrency. We introduced the crowdfunding and private placement regulation within AFC, which is a separate jurisdiction based on English common law. So we have a regulation on remote identification, which allows now to open a bank account, open a business online, and regulation on blockchain, including the mining, and I think introduction of regulatory sandbox by Astana Financial Center Authority allowed a lot of FinTech startups to be launched. So the lab actually allows to test and develop a product within live environment without having to fully comply with the regulation. And also tax preferences is driving the development. And we still have plans to have a regulation on e-commerce and digital and mobile banking. And of course, National Bank of Kazakhstan is also developing a white paper, I guess, on central bank digital currency. What actually drives ecosystem fintech development in Kazakhstan apart from capital? So it's a digital program and provision of the liquidity by the government. I think government have built a fund of fund and also acting as an LP in several GPs, tax incentives, providing different kind of infrastructure, focus on talent development through different acceleration programs, incubators, education programs within universities, and also through, for example, through AFC, it creates a regulatory environment that supports innovation and know-how. Okay. So if we have a look at the portrait of the fintech startup market in Kazakhstan, this is from our report analysis we did on the market. It's like most of the fintech is focused on payment and software solutions, and there's still less companies within insurtech. And I think most of the companies are very early stage. We don't have really late stage fintech. I think Kaspi and banks. So probably banks would be like late stage fintech companies. But in terms of startups, we still have a lot of early stage companies. So we need a lot of liquidity to support them in terms of capital. And as Ihsan said, yeah, we need some kind of incentives that can help them to scale. So most of the fintech are focused really locally, so they don't see that, they don't have that mindset of scalability. Only few of the startups are trying to scale to the region or other markets. So what kind of value VC can bring is to help them actually to scale to different markets. And I think some of the incentives was through provision, government being an LP in two funds. One is Quest Ventures and the other one is 500. So which in plan they want this to VCs to help startups to scale to the markets. One is Southeast Asia, the other one US. So another factor that plays a big role is talent development, and it's considered that Kazakhstan is as an ecosystem. I mean, have a great abundance of talent, and it doesn't costly like in Western markets, so you can get a good employees or co-founders to the startup. So we did a little analysis on the fintech sector. So this is mainly the map of the fintech. So. As you might see, we don't have really a lot of deep tech technologies. Mostly they're focused on providing some kind of payment system, investment, and wallets. So company profile is, again, it's mostly focused on growth, early stage to growth, and focused more on B2C segment. It's most like accounting, fintech, or like software solutions. So I will just go through all the slides and probably focus on also what kind of government, I mean, like AFC plays in this whole innovation development. And so a little I mean, like apart from capital and the infrastructure, also the right regulation should be in place to develop and foster the innovation. And as an AFC is a special financial zone, which is now working on completely new legislation based on principles of English law. Within AFC, we have created dispute resolution authorities as AFC court, YAG, guided by international best practice. And also we have an exchange and core pillars is fintech and green tech, one of them. So AFC is capable of playing the same role in the development of the region as a VC hub, like Singapore, Switzerland, based on the regulation. AFC has already attracted like a few VCs, investment companies, and being a regional financial service investment hub also pay close attention to the emerging technologies and understands the importance of innovation. So we have created favorable regulatory conditions. We have already introduced frameworks on private placement and crowdfunding, cryptocurrency, and crypto exchange. we have launched a sandbox regime, which I said previously, and we are part of a global financial innovation network. We want to become a VC hub within AFC by bringing all the players and providing the jurisdictions. The jurisdiction based on English common law with special tax regime and flexible regulation, I think would allow to further make a lot of opportunities for VC investments and for startups. And in summing up, generally, I think my time is almost up. I would bring out few things about this ecosystem, fintech ecosystem of Kazakhstan. So it's very young, and I think we have a lot of opportunities that is available for VCs. So the Kazakhstan market is early stage, less competitive, yet I think it's quite exciting for VC investors. And the major role in developing the fintech is also, plays right now is mostly the government initiatives. So different programs providing liquidity, and I think we need more of international VCs that can help our fintech companies to go global.
Excellent.
So I think we'll finish on this note. Thank you very much to be able to share our experience and what's going on within our market.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was really interesting. It's really interesting how a completely emerging market starts to grow, and it really is based at the beginning, isn't it, on talent and what we can do with that talent and how that can attract international investment. And will be really interesting to watch that develop over the next couple of years. I'd now like to introduce our next speakers, Dilshod Khashimov and Dilshod Zurafov, to come on. They're both from UzVC. I'll hand you over.
Салам алейкум. Добрый день, дорогие участники сегодняшнего форума. Я приветствую вас на данном мероприятии, посвященном инвестированию в финтех-стартапам. От лица Национального венчурного фонда UzVC я выражаю признательность посольству Великобритании за организацию данного форума. Пользуясь случаем, позвольте мне рассказать о нашем фонде. Национальный венчурный фонд UzVC был создан постановлением Кабинета министров за номером 684 от 3 ноября 2020 года. UzVC как первый пилотный проект государства в этой сфере в целях комплексной поддержки инновационных проектов и стартап-экосистемы. Национальный венчурный фонд UzVC ведет политику в сфере государственно-частного партнерства, инклюзивности, социальной ответственности и прозрачности. UzVC, как первый венчурный фонд и государственный агент, разработал механизм по отбору управляющей компании, кем может стать и местный, и зарубежный венчурный фонд. Фонд начал свою деятельность с февраля 2021 года и в том числе привлек зарубежных специалистов с Европы для разработки стандартов по отбору управляющей компании, а также формирования законодательной базы в сфере венчурного инвестирования, чем фонд и занимается по сей день. Также в качестве пилотного проекта на основе разработанных стандартов фонд провел конкурс и передал средства на управляющую компанию, великобританскую компанию. Также фондом был организован 2-4 ноября текущего года совместно с USAID с участием зарубежных специалистов в сфере венчурного инвестирования, мастер-класс. Планы на 2022 года. Проведение программы акселерации, проведение программ подготовки венчурных инвесторов, создание митчингового фонда и создание кастомного фонда. В 2022 году фонд планирует провести пятимесячную акселерационную программу совместно с 500 Global. Также фонд планирует с 500 Global и университетом Стэнфорда провести месячный тренинг-курс по подготовке бизнес-ангелов. Вместе с тем фонд планирует запустить митчинговый фонд по поддержке инвесторов, где фонд будет очень выгодным соинвестором. На презентации вы можете видеть. И помимо этого мы планируем запустить кастомный фонд с привлечением крупного международного игрока в роли управляющего партнера и институциональных инвесторов в качестве ограниченных партнеров. Также хотелось бы сообщить, что мы формируем портфель проектов и был запущен официальный сайт фонда по электронному адресу nationaluzvc.uz, где была размещена форма заявки для приема проектов. Мы рассматриваем разные направления для инвестирования, но особое внимание уделяем сфере FinTech, как одной из быстро развивающихся стран, имеющих высокий потенциал развития этого рынка. Спасибо за внимание. Пожалуйста.
If I could just ask, we appreciate your patience, dear guests and speakers, and we all want to see what up next in terms of slides. But the thing is, it would be great if speakers don't interfere with the slides of those who are currently speaking on stage. So let the presenter do take control of the slides. Thank you so much. Hugh, over to you.
All right. Right. Thank you. Thanks for that presentation. That was very interesting. And as was said beforehand, if we can all try to keep our fingers off the slides, that would be great, because it is quite off-putting when they start slipping around in front of you. So thank you for that. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Kiyan, who is the CEO of Sturgeon Capital. Pass over to you now.
I'm sorry, Hugh, for interrupting. There is another speaker from Uzbekistan, Dilshod.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that. Okay, right. Sorry. Yeah, we'll carry on with UzVC. Is it Dilshod again? Zufarov.
Hi, hello everybody.
Hello.
Hope you have my voice, because I have some issues that I cannot hear other speakers. So if it's okay, so I will begin my presentation. As here on the slide, you can see some statistics and from Uzbekistan. Okay, I have a sign that you hear me. Okay, thank you. So you have some statistics about Uzbekistan. And next slide, please, Camila. So here are the main players of FinTech ecosystem and banking ecosystem of Uzbekistan. So there is Uzcard and Humoz. There are payment systems, and there are 32 banks. All of these banks have own FinTech solutions like banking applications, and there are more than 200 fintech startups on the market. Next slide, please. So the size of the fintech ecosystem of Uzbekistan is $5.9 billion. It's for the year of the 2020. This is only B2C segment. So we have online banking and fintech here. Next slide, please. And the share of fintech market is 53% of the market. And I want to draw your attention that this share is growing only for last year for 55% year-over-year growth. And next slide, please. So I represent here. Do not change slides unless you are present. So I represent here as CEO of Uzbekistan Venture Capital Association, and at the same time, I am a Chief Innovation Officer at Uzcard. What is Uzcard? Uzcard is a local payment system in Uzbekistan. Uzcard have more than 15 million of card holders with card, and more than 200,000 POS terminals, point of sales terminals, and more than 4,000 of ATMs. So you can see some analytics of the growth year-over-year of growth. Next slide, please. So the number of transactions here are the yearly number of transactions. You can see, so you can see that the year-over-year growth of the volume of transaction is growing very fastly. This is also due to the COVID, who stimulated the growth of the payments, online payments. So we have 41% of year-over-year growth of volume of transactions. So next slide, please. So we have some record performance, especially in e-commerce. Year-over-year growth was for 70%, and the number of participants were 45% plus. So also on QR payments, this is a new mainstream in Uzbekistan. So we have 7 times growth, year-over-year growth 7 times more, and 4 times increase the number of service points to accept QR payments. Next slide, please. So what we do at Uzcard, so we are launching the first in Uzbekistan, the corporate accelerator. We integrate startups into Uzcard infrastructure. For the acceleration, corporate acceleration is have 4 components. The first is scouting, then the sandbox, giving the sandbox to startups, then helping them to scale on the national and regional scaling, and then to act as soft landing point for international startups, mostly fintech startups, to enter to the market of Uzbekistan with the help of Uzcard infrastructure. And the next slide, please. And we have also corporate venture capital funds. This is the first CVC that help also with the capital, and not only with capital, but with mentoring the startups to growth in Uzbekistan. So in brief, we know in Uzbekistan that this is a new direction, corporate accelerator, who are launching. For example, another government banks is Aloqa Bank, local government bank. Has launched announced the launching of corporate accelerator and corporate venture capital fund for $10 million. And we know that without, as we have a big potential for fintech growth, so without venture VC capital, local startups cannot grow on local and regional or global scaling. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed for that. Right now, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Now I'd like to introduce Kiyan, please, the CEO of Sturgeon Capital. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, and a pleasure to be speaking with all of you. What I thought would be useful is if I take the role of the venture firm and explain why fintech is a very important and attractive part of the market, and kind of our thesis as to how we see companies can really capture the opportunity set, and the role that venture firms like us play in that. Quick 2 words on Sturgeon Capital. We're a London-based venture firm, and our focus is exclusively investing in frontier and emerging markets. Our belief is that what has happened over the past few years is the level of technology infrastructure, primarily smartphone and internet penetration, has got to such a point that now technology business models can now really be developed. And so here I'll focus on Uzbekistan and speaking about FinTech, a country which we have a fund dedicated to. Over the past year, we've made about 10 different investments in the country, and I would say 70% of them are really focused around the FinTech space. So what is the opportunity set? If you look at it from a B2C perspective, 50% of the population today does not have a bank account, and only 3 to 5% of the population has ever taken a loan from a financial institution. Separate from that, you also have significant remittance flows, that is from Uzbeks living abroad, sending money back. Okay. On the B2B space, here I focus specifically on the small to mid-sized business market. SMEs account for about 50 to 60% of GDP and 80% of employment in the country. They don't really have any access to capital, and the limited capital that they do have doesn't have the ability to price their risk appropriately. And as such, you find very high borrowing costs for them. So if we define the opportunity set, there is a B2C opportunity set and there is a B2B side. So the question then is, how does one or a company go about capturing that? And so the 2 lenses that we see this through are effectively distribution and data. Why? Because traditional banks typically have large balance sheets, but they don't have effective customer acquisition channels. And their customer acquisition channel is actually typically deposits, something that they have is an expense for them ultimately. And our view is distribution can be built out much quicker, much more effectively through non-bank services. So if you're thinking about on the consumer side, it could be businesses such as e-commerce, it could be B2C software, where effectively you're providing a service to the customer that they will ultimately use on a regular basis. That service is unique in that country and allows you to build up a large customer base quite quickly. Through doing so as well, you get to originate a lot of original credit data on those customers, which you can combine with existing credit data, such that you end up with one, distribution and data, which collectively are a very important asset to own in countries which are coming from a very nascent stage in the financial services market. And then if you combine those 2 assets effectively with ease of use, if you take a population that typically hasn't really interacted with financial service providers, similar for small businesses, you really want to be able to make the service as easy as possible. That is, when someone wants to open an account, it can be done within a space of minutes. If they want to have a loan, it can be done in the space of minutes. And then the traditional banks actually come in on the funding side. That is, if you've built distribution and you have data, you have 2 key assets which the traditional banks don't need, and you don't need to be funding those loans yourself. You simply you have to be able to create the integration of the banking sector such that you can utilize their balance sheet to lend to your customer base. And then you basically just monetize the distribution fee. So if we look at the business models that we've typically invested in, they are B2C software, they're B2B software, and effectively e-commerce and marketplaces. All of these businesses are businesses that typically can build up a large customer base, generate data on them, and then utilize the combination of the 2 to link with the existing banking sector to then be the most significant provider of financial services to the country. And this model is not something new, it's not something original. We've seen Kaspi play it quite well in Kazakhstan. If you look at a country like China, Alibaba started off with e-commerce, they built up Alipay, which today is one of the most significant financial service providers in the country. So we think this is a playbook that is a well-trodden path and is the playbook to capture the fintech opportunity within countries like Uzbekistan or more broadly frontier and emerging markets. And so the question then is, where does venture capital fit into all of this? I mean, if you think about what it means to build a business focused on fintech or to build a business from the early stage, the stack of capital available to you as a founder or a management team is not in private equity because they're not willing to fund that early stage growth. It's certainly not in public equity. You could go to DFIs, you could go to angel investors, but really it's the bread and butter of venture firms. That is to provide you capital to help you build out infrastructure, to help you spend on growth and really build out the organization that you need to be able to operate your business. And venture is risk capital, right? The very essence is that you have to accept a large variance in outcomes, and that is a mentality, as a mindset, is what a venture capital investor has. Now, it doesn't mean that they want to accept high variance, that is a high level of risk. So their job is really to reduce that variance and try to create the best path to you building the business that you want in the most optimal way. The other benefit, I guess, in the case of us, we're investing in up to 5 different countries. We see a range of different business models. We see what has worked, what hasn't worked. And obviously, we can hopefully bring that knowledge to the companies to not only be able to provide capital, to help on hiring, to help on growth, and all the non-capital requirements a company needs as they're growing from the early stage to a more kind of mature stage of the business. And one practical example I'll give as a company that we've invested in before I finish is ZootPay. So ZootPay started off again for e-commerce. They built today about 8.5 million users. Those are customers that are regularly purchasing products from the platform. And so if you think about the flow of work, if you want to be able to provide installment solutions, BNPL or lending solutions, it makes it much easier to do so with customers that are already purchasing products on your platform. So you have the distribution, you have the natural workflow to be able to lend to, and you're generating a lot of data which you can combine with credit data that already exists to link to the banking sector to be able to provide loans to these customers. That's effectively what the model is, the business has done. We've invested from the pre-seed to seed to Series A, and the company has now just closed their Series B funding where they raised 40 million. And I think is a very good example of how to build a fintech business whilst not being a fintech business in your original origin. So I'll stop there, but thank you again for the time, and I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that. And I do think that it's going to be interesting how fintech plays and getting increasingly involved in the supply chain, one of the big victims, as we know, of COVID. Now, I'd like to pass on to our next speaker, Michael Boevink, who is the head of sales at FinTech's Circle Scaling Program. So over to you, Michael.
Excellent. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. That's great news. And do you also have my slides?
Yes, we got your slides.
All right, I can't see my slides. But I only cannot see my slides. How does that work? All right, I will have to do this by heart, guys. I just cannot see my slides. Honored to be here, and I think that Eastern Europe and Central Asia is one of the most interesting areas and thriving areas in general. I'll tell you a bit about FinTech Circle, what we do, and we'll do this by heart, and the slides will be available for everyone. FinTech Circle is a financial ecosystem, what was the first investment vehicle for European investment in fintech startups. We run it with a combined ecosystem of around 200,000 members who are all in the fintech industry, so that can be from legal tech to reg tech to artificial intelligence in general. currently we have over 20 investments running, and we had over 3 exits so far. The good thing about an ecosystem, and I can recommend that to any country from Kazakhstan to Russia to Uzbekistan, is that we created around the investment what we call smart capital. So a lot of people around it who have the ability to tap into knowledge, network, and growth, which is quite important if you go scaling cross-border, especially from another country. So what we always say, when you want to scale a company in the fintech industry, and you have traction in your home market, and you want to go to the next level, you will need extra knowledge, local regulatory knowledge, local expertise as well. And that combination you want to tap into as you're scaling. Here we go. Can you go to the next slide, please? Actually have it on. Thank you. So within FinTech Circle, we created a network on the one side of FinTech companies who are small, proactively scaling and need growth capital. And on the other side, we have the combination of corporate network where we have on C-level all connections with the international banks as well. So one of the challenges with smaller fintechs is how do you get deals with banks? How do you get partnership for bigger distribution and sales? And you need that combination with a corporate network as well. So from Society Generale to HSBC, we know those people on C-level as well, and that often helps to accelerate a fintech. Next slide, please. So what we see at the moment in Europe is that UK is still dominating the European fintech investment. More than half of almost half of all the investments go to the UK, and that's not only because of the money. The reason why is because the UK also has a complete ecosystem around funding. So when you go to, be honest, Germany, setting up a company in Germany is quite more difficult, quite more intensive on the administrative and legal side. While in England, it goes much faster. The speeding up to set up a company, arrange investment is so much quicker in the UK, and that's a big benefit as well. So if you are an Eastern Europe, Central Asia company, and you want to go to Europe, often England or UK is one of the entry points to go to. And that combination you see quite well with companies like TransferWise, for example. Always remember, from an investment point of view, there are way more projects than we can handle. We see that coming into our investment program as well, where we have hundreds of people who join in, but we select 20, they go through a coaching program. With a coaching program, we can only select 6 to 8 per quarter. And of those 6 to 8, we will get them in front of the right investors as well. Not only ourselves, but also a group of more than 70 investors or Series A, Series B venture capitalists to get you to the next round. But realize you have to be really well prepared, because the level and the amount of investment proposals we're getting from foreign companies is very intense. If you look in fintech in general, we see that the big movement is green finance. We're getting more and more investment plans for green finance. We just had COP26, but in general, last year was already a bigger movement to responsible fintech. Embedded finance is one of the ones. It's not only buy now, pay later. We see embedded lending. We see all type of trends coming up where we see that non-fintechs suddenly become a fintech player by using aggregator players that can be from issuing cards to setting up checking accounts, combining crypto with fiat currencies, all those things. That's a big movement. Financial inclusion, that counts a lot for not only for Central Asia and Eastern Europe. We also see that in the UK, that there are still 4 million people who need to be financially included. So it's not always, when we talk about financial inclusion, oh, let's go to Africa. We just see instantly that all those areas, even in the UK, are from very important that we get everyone included into the ecosystem of FinTech. And of course, digital assets, it goes now from stable coins to decentralized finance and all those points as well. Next slide, please. I think this is one of the things I want to compare the merges between Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and the UK and Europe. Nobody is scared to invest in foreign entrepreneurs. It happens more and more often. We see that Eastern Europe and Central Asia is picking up the ball really quickly. They don't have the burden of old infrastructure. But we do always mention everyone on the investment side, and also we have a checklist. So if you go to the UK, they will require that you open a UK LTD. You have to make yourself EIS compliant, and the reason why is that that's a tax relief system in the UK, and it's very preferred by investors to use that. If you come to Europe or you come to the UK or vice versa, traction is also from evident. Everyone wants to see some revenue. So if you're coming from Uzbekistan and you have already some traction in your home market, it will get very, it's a big step to get private investment or venture capital investment into your company. If you want to go for a bigger round because you have bigger traction in your country, always remember that a venture capitalist in Series will have a basic minimum run rate of $1 million revenue. It's just a simple requirement to check those boxes when you go for investment from the UK or from Europe or in general venture capitalists. They're looking for a transaction fee as well. I think those are the most important thing to keep account for. What we say always with FinTech circles, try to share as much knowledge and network as you have in the ecosystem. Don't be shy. This is a growing market, and venture capitalists just see in general that the more you're connected and wired in the industry, even with co-opetition, so working with your competitors is just benefiting your own company as well as the market. Next, that was basically my presentation, and thank you so much for your time.
Michael, that was really interesting and fascinating, and I particularly liked your comment. Nobody is scared to invest in foreign entrepreneurs, and that is absolutely true. This market is completely open to everybody, and we're seeing that right across the board with lots and lots and lots of certainly if you look at the community in London, I think something like 40% of all the people working in FinTechs have actually been born overseas. So I really want to emphasize that point. The market is open to everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So thank you very much for that. Now I'd like to pass over to my colleagues in the Department for International Trade, Mike King, Mehmet, Anastasia, who are going to take you through the next stage of this. Can I also put in a quick advert? If anybody's got any questions, we're going to have a very short question and answer session at the end. Please write some questions in the chat bar, which is on my right, so I assume it's on your right as well. Thank you.
Hi there. I believe we are waiting for Mike to attend. But if he's not on the line at the moment, just save up some time. Maybe it will be better if he can, let's say, kick off. Yeah. If it's okay, I would like to start then. So, привет, everyone. Меня зовут Mehmet Başaran. Я работаю советником по внутренним инвестициям в DIT. So those are the only sentences that I can speak in Russian. So if it's okay, I would like to convert to English again. And I know that we are a little bit tight in time, so I would like immediately start to kick off by talking about the fintech ecosystem in the UK. So let me talk about let me give you some brief highlights about the sector itself. I know that everyone actually before this session, everyone spoke about this, but let me summarize it once again. I'm not going to read all of those slides and the figures here, but as you can see, since 2017, the fintech sector in the UK actually grew very rapidly. Since 2018, investors put more money in the UK fintech sector compared to any other European country. And as of now, we are estimating more than 1,500 companies, fintech companies in the UK, and we expect it to be doubled within the next 10 years. As you can see from the slide, more than half of the, let's say, traditional financial institutions actually put the disruptive fintech technologies in the heart of their strategy. And this actually caused the fintech sector revenue to reach more than £11 billion in 2019. So as I said, fintech is, let's say, developing a lot of, let's say, traction in the UK. We have very good companies. We are attracting a lot of investments. So as a brief note, I would like to show you this slide. You can see that some of the, let's say, highlighted companies, startups, scale-up companies all over the world, and where they are coming from. You all know Revolut, all know Monzo, I presume, and they are all literally they're based in the UK. So just to save up some time, I would like to talk more about the sector and the opportunities within the sector. As you can see, the fintech sector in overall actually composed of many segments, many sub-segments. I try to identify some of them. I'm not going to talk each one of those segments, but hopefully at the end of this presentation, you will have an idea what the UK fintech sector can offer you. So let me start with the payment technologies. Payment technologies is actually to be the biggest segment in the fintech ecosystem. It's estimated that more than 20% of the industry is actually generated from this sector and from this segment. And we are estimating that almost 2/3 of the payments in the UK are actually made through digital channels. Actually, to be honest, the COVID-19 actually helped us a lot, and we are expecting almost 1/3 of the whole payments will be made by contactless methods in the next, let's say, 5-6 years time. Digital banking is also another issue, another hot topic. Digital banks such as Revolut, Monzo gained a lot of traction in the last few years. And in November 2020, Starling Bank became the first digital bank which reports profit. But I would like to emphasize the results of one survey, which you can see in blue. As you can see, more than 75% of the British citizens are using online banking at the moment, and 2/3 of the traditional bank customers, so to speak, are planning to convert to fully convert to a digital bank in the near future. Sorry about that. InsurTech is also another hot topic because it's very obvious. London is regarded as the birthplace of insurance. And in 2018, the whole InsurTech subsector segment raised more than $1 billion in funding. Capital markets, wealth tech is transforming itself with direct collaboration with artificial intelligence, big data, cloud systems. The systems such as robotic advisors, automated advisors are actually providing a huge, let's say, impact in the segment itself. Again, one survey actually showed that with that automated advisors, more than half of them, more than 60% of the British citizens are feeling more comfortable, more involved in their investments. Distributed ledger technologies, also known as blockchain or digital currencies, are also, I believe this is a hot topic almost everywhere in the world. But I can easily say that as of 2019, UK took almost 6% of the world's blockchain investments, and the UK itself actually showing. Presenting a clear regulation about this technology through not only through the governmental organizations, but also numerous research projects and private institutions as well. So I don't want to take too much of your time. That's why I left out the big data and data analytics side or the enterprise technology side. But as you all know, big data is directly linked with the fintech sector. And with their own, let's say, transformation, with their own revolution, they're actually feeding the fintech ecosystem very well. I don't want to take the storm or steal the storm of Anastasia, who will be presenting just after me. But when we are thinking about the fintech, finance, professional services, the first place that comes into people's mind is London. Yeah, London is great. London is one of the hotspots. We always, let's say, advise people to be in London. But with companies, scaling up companies, scaled companies, expanding their outreach, so to speak, to the other regions. There are some other locations where companies can invest in. For example, I can easily speak about Glasgow. I can easily speak about Birmingham or Belfast, which are becoming some of the major hotspots in the UK as well. I will leave Anastasia to talk about how we are assisting you in, let's say, selecting those locations. But as we are very tight in time, so I would like to finalize here. But thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer afterwards. Please feel free to send me an email. Spasiba i do swidania. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Anastasia. I work at the British Embassy Moscow and support companies from Russia, Armenia, and Kazakhstan planning to set up their offices in the UK. Mehmet has described the UK fintech ecosystem, and I'll describe how our Department for International Trade helps companies and entrepreneurs wishing to expand to the UK, and also briefly go through the process of setting up a UK office. The Department for International Trade is a UK governmental organization which helps companies from various countries which are planning to set up the UK office, open a UK company, and hire UK employees to solve a wide range of issues and points around doing business in the UK and launching their business in the UK. It can include market research and market insights, which allow them to make an informed business case for expanding to the UK. It can be information about networking opportunities, the UK ecosystem, such as accelerators, technoparks, useful business communities, business events. It can be information about various UK regions, because as Mehmet mentioned, there are opportunities not only in London, but also in other regions. And we can provide, for example, a costs benchmark from various UK regions. We also provide information on technical points of setting up a UK office, such as various visa types, taxation, governmental programs for businesses, opening a bank account, regulations, and others. We can also connect you with UK legal firms. There is a specific program within our department focused on very innovative scale-up companies. It's called a GEP Global Entrepreneur Program. All in all, our support is focused on what a particular company needs. And we work with companies from all sectors, not only fintech and financial services. I'll give an example of a company which has set up in the UK with DIT's support. It's a fintech company offering banks and FMCG companies and a software tool which is used to integrate all loyalty programs, e-wallets, and accounts in different banks into one app. This company opened its European headquarters in the UK 4 years ago, and at the moment they are based at level 39. They have received awards from Deloitte, Top 10 FinTech Startups Award and KPMG Digital Innovation Award. The CEO has mentioned that the fact that they have a UK office and the fact that they have a UK team helps them to sell not only to UK customers, but also on other markets, for example, in the Middle East. And you may have heard of different companies from various countries setting up in the UK, as Michael and Mehmet mentioned. The UK is very open to international entrepreneurs. A good example is Revolut, which has become a unicorn, is valued at $33 billion, and it has attracted 800 million in its latest round. It's very straightforward to open a UK legal entity. It takes 24 hours and £12 online. I won't go into details about visas, but we'll be very glad to go through these options in more detail with any companies that are interested in setting up their offices in the UK. And you are welcome to contact my colleague Mehmet if you are from Turkey, Ukraine, and Belarus. If you are from Russia, Armenia, and Kazakhstan, you are welcome to contact me. And if you are from other countries in the region, you can contact either of us. If you're a venture capital fund or a technopark and your residents might be interested in these opportunities of opening a UK office, or you would like to invest into an existing UK company, we'll also be glad to discuss.
Thanks, Anastasia. Should I continue?
Yes, please, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, everybody. My name is Mike King. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Head of Investment for the Eastern Europe and Central Asia region. I'm delighted to be closing off this session about the opportunities to invest in the UK for companies such as yourselves. I was delighted that this was put on because the UK is one of the world's leading financial centres. I don't need any slides, by the way, if there are any slides up. It's got a great ecosystem of collaboration, talent, and innovation with strong connections at every level. And over the past few years in the wider region, particularly Turkey, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and many others, we've been building on these connections with the UK in the region in the aim of creating a FinTech bridge that allows FinTech companies from these countries to expand in the UK and vice versa. This is all about furthering opportunities for companies like yourselves to grow through the UK. This EECA and FinTech Week and the London FinTech Week earlier this year are perfect examples of increasing support for companies such as yourselves. I mean, the UK is a truly global financial centre, not just in London, but we have FinTech hubs across the country, from Belfast to Birmingham, Brighton to Bristol, employing nearly 1.1 million, including almost 770,000 in FinTech. I know that Mehmet and Anastasia have already talked to you about the ecosystem in the UK and how to open your international office in the UK. And again, these are sort of practical examples of how the DIT team is here to help you. In the UK, from crypto to payments to insurtech, we have one of the strongest FinTech sectors in the world, offering best-in-class solutions for the financial industry and a great place for companies to expand internationally. The UK is a centre of finance, it's a centre of innovation, and it's a centre of technology across the globe. And it's working to strengthen national coordination of the FinTech ecosystem with companies such as yourselves. Examples of this are things like the government rolling out a new scale-up visa stream, which allows experts with job offers from recognised FinTech UK scale-ups to obtain their fast-track visas. As well as this, our regulator, the Financial Conduct Authority, is delivering a regulatory scale box, enhancing the existing regulatory toolkit for FinTech startups, and including a one-stop shop to navigate sources of support available, again, for companies like yourselves. Last year, the UK attracted nearly 4.6 billion into FinTech, with a higher volume of deals than any other European country, and more than half of Europe's 10 biggest VC investments in FinTech. Our world-class regulatory bodies have led the way in nurturing a competitive and innovation-friendly business environment for FinTech development and innovation. And the UK has ambitious plans to reach net zero, again presenting huge opportunities for green and sustainable investment, creating huge opportunities for FinTech to develop the infrastructure to meet decision-making and reporting requirements. So, in conclusion, the global FinTech sector is one of huge ambition, but also almost limitless potential. From AI to distributed ledgers and smart contracts, it has the potential to revolutionize finance at a global scale. And what better time to do it than now? For its part, the British government stands ready to help the industry realize every opportunity to expand and grow, making the UK the best place on earth to start and expand a financial technology business. And that includes increasing the inward investment opportunities for companies like yourselves expanding in the UK. Together, there's nothing we can't achieve, and the DIT team, myself, Anastasia, Mehmet, and others are here to support companies like you. So on that note, I'd like to thank you all for the session and encourage you to please get in touch with myself or the DIT team. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mike. That was really good. As I said beforehand, if anybody's got any questions, please do let us know. I think we've had one so far, which was really asking about regulatory sandboxes and how useful they are. So I don't know if any of my fellow panelists have got any ideas about this. Perhaps if you could put on your cameras, it would be quite good to see you. The regulatory sandbox in the UK, I think it really originated from the UK and has spread now around the world. It's been really, really effective in enabling new companies to test out with regulators how effective their innovations are and whether they'll work with the help of the regulator. But perhaps Michael, do you have any views about the sandbox?
Yeah, I'm also a member of the Payment Association in the UK, and we advised the Bank of England and the FCA. And the good advantage of a sandbox is that we can try stuff. We can literally, enhance new technologies without having the burden of the existing legal infrastructure. And it's a necessity, we think, to get to the next level. And it's not only stable coins, digital assets, it's also aggregators, payment technology, where we just want to try things out. And the FCA really helps then with a sandbox option to say, okay, you have that lack and slack without having the burden of the existing infrastructure. So within my opinion, and also opinion of several other of the experts, sandboxes just help speed up the innovation.
Completely agree. Arslan, do you have a view on this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I think a sandbox here in AFSA has been a very great tool for fintech startups. So since the launch of the sandbox, I think more than 27 startups have been onboarded to it, got a testing license, and I think there are still companies that would prefer to be in the sandbox because without the burden of full regulation, even though, for example, we have a regulation on crowdfunding, but I see more companies are staying in the sandbox regime to further test there. So I think we have companies in sandbox that actually evolved into something already like post-seed level companies and that already have big revenue. And also, we don't have full regulation on other things, on other like innovative solutions. So I think Sandbox is a great solution for that kind of solution providers or startups to test their ideas and hypotheses, engaging with the real clients and real people So it's it's a good tool for fostering the fintech ecosystem. And we can judge it from our case here in Kazakhstan in AFSA.
Excellent, excellent. No, I think it's a hugely important innovation. The next kind of layer of this is things like scale boxes and the rest to help people grow. I think as a last question, I think it was you, Michael, that sort of mentioned what you thought were the hot areas. I think you said green finance, embedded finance, which fits in with open banking, buy now, pay later, came up several times. Financial inclusion, obviously important, and digital currencies and things like central bank currencies coming up. Myself, I thought other areas where we're seeing a lot of interest in deep technology, that's things like AI and machine learning and cybersecurity. And I just wonder if people might like to comment on where they think it's particularly got some growth to come through.
Well, you're absolutely right. Data in general is a really hot topic. It's not only the European GDPR, but in general, the amount of fraud is increasing rapidly. So we see all type of new technologies coming in. We see AI used for the good. We also see AI used for the bad. So basically the current cyber criminals also use AI to get quicker into databases and systems. So absolutely a very hot topic in general. We also see on the working side that AI gives great opportunity for relief. So it's not replacing people, but just helping people getting more efficient. And that's absolutely a serious investment area as well.
Excellent. If anybody else wants to join in the conversation, if they could just put their camera on. Otherwise, I shall move to the final section, which is really to thank you all for having joined us today. I'd like to thank my colleagues for having put on this particular event, but also for the whole week that they are doing. Our event, just to remind everybody, was about the role of venture capital within the ecosystem. And venture capital is incredibly important. Of course, there are huge amounts of money coming in from public markets. There are huge amounts of money coming in from institutional investors. If you look at somebody like JP Morgan, they're investing themselves about $11 billion a year in technology. Similar amounts from people like Goldman Sachs, who have just worked with us to open up their AI center in Birmingham. JP Morgan have just set up their digital bank in the UK, for instance. But within that ecosystem, the VCs, I think, play a really, really important part, because the problem with a lot of big institutional investors is they sometimes don't know what to do when the company they're investing succeeds. And we're seeing this. I think Zandiyeh spun off its digital bank, and sometimes the successful investment within a big institution ends up being perceived internally as a competitor. And I think what the VC world does is bring a real spur to entrepreneurship. Does that, as we talked about earlier, in two forms. One, in money, enabling that process to go through where you can scale up, but also in terms of the advice and the expertise that they bring. They're phenomenally important parts of how the ecosystem works. We're really, really keen to do everything we can to support VC companies. One of the things that Michael said earlier was digital inclusion was really important. We really do want to see FinTech enable inclusion across the world, because it will bring prosperity and connectiveness to people. So finally, again, thank you very much for coming along. Please do come and visit us if you're in London. My office here is right next to St James's Park, in a very beautiful part of the city of Westminster. We'd be delighted to see you when you come over, and have a very good rest of the day. So thank you very much from me.